All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friends and Family Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have my good friend, Hoss, who has not been in the videos for a little bit now.
For a second.
We're here to address the drama. But Hoss hasn't been here for a second. But if you've watched my channel, you've seen Hoss and I did videos for months and months and months. We've actually been going to LA recently together, stuff like that. He was around for videos, but not in them.
Bahamas.
And the Bahamas, we did a lot of stuff together. So today I thought it'd be fun to have Hoss on, kind of explain the origin of Hoss and I becoming friends, where Hoss has been, what's going on with his cars, because we became friends through cars, which you'll hear about. But first, we have to open up with asking Hoss about some of the recent sneaker releases that are coming out. Now, I'm not going to give too much of an opinion here because I'm going to do that on my channel actually this week on the December releases.
I have opinions.
But Hoss has opinions and strong ones. So the first one up, I have them on a screen over here, is going to be the We The Best DJ Khaled Jordan 5s in a peach color. And there's also a kind of sail color, but this is the main colorway everybody's seeing. What do you think?
So my first instinct is that I like it because it's like a pastel. I like that peach color. This is one of the colors that Rolls-Royce released a few dons. They did these pastel dons, like a yellow and a peach color. And I think it's great. Although on the silhouette of the I'm not, of the five, of the five, I am not a fan. I was just thinking about the fours that I do like. Those Multi-Millionaires that those came out. Those are awesome. These I feel like are difficult to wear for me personally because I wear on my shoes. I don't like put them on a shelf and say like, oh, they're going to appreciate. But I think they're just kind of out there. And normally I'm kind of the out there guy. Like I like these colors. I don't love it on the five.
I thought you might like these. I thought you could maybe pull them off.
No, actually, I like the UNC lows that recently came out. I like the Travis Scott Phantoms. I think those are awesome.
Yep.
I think what are those? The new Zions, garbage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You watched my new video.
Garbage. I hate those. But everybody has their own opinions. I have strong opinions always.
Yep.
But no, I'm not a huge fan.
That one comes out November 28th. The next one is November 29th. These I'm excited to see your opinions on.
Okay.
These are a weird one. This is a CPFM.
Okay.
Nike Dunk.
Half the CPFM stuff I like, half of them I don't.
This is a Dunk coming out on November 29th. There we go.
This is horrible.
These look like Grinch shoes.
This is like Swamp Thing mixed with a moccasin and this is horrible. There's not a chance that.
So these are weird. These are like weird sizing. They came out with the green pair of these, like the normal pair. These are the Grinch pair. So I'm gonna try to get them, obviously, but people are selling for like $3,500 right now.
Wow.
So it's crazy.
No, there's a horde.
All right, the next one is not too crazy, less hype. This comes out. Actually, the date's on there wrong. This is a Velvet Dunk Low.
I like that.
Teal.
So my only issue with this is I have soured on Dunk Lows. Right, I like this. I like the color. I like Velvet. I don't like the look and fit on my feet of Dunk Lows. I prefer now. I've realized I prefer the Jordan 1 Lows. The Dunk Lows just feel a little chunky to me. Too chunky. Where I think that's a cool look, but I wouldn't do it.
All right, I think I got one or two more. These are the Jordan 11 Cherries.
I've never liked any 11s.
All right, well, let's just go quick on those. He hates them.
Horrible. All
right, these are the Drake Nocta Air Force Ones.
So I've seen these. They're super hype right now.
I mean, they're going for like $150.
I mean, they're all over social media.
Just because it's Drake, yeah.
And a couple of friends got them recently. I think it's a boring Air Force One. Honestly, I liked the Louis Vuitton Air Force Ones. I like those, pricey, but I liked because the colors. I don't love this. It's just because Drake, and which I get. I mean,
it's very plain.
It's kind of plain, kind of boring. So it's a meh, which is a no for me.
Okay. Last one is nothing really hype. Comes out next year, but it relates to Atlanta. This is the Clark University Dunk Low. Just want to see your thoughts.
I think those are dope. First of all, I love anything that reps ATL.
Yeah, true.
Okay, first of all. Second of all, I actually like that colorway. I like the different reds. I like the ATL on it. It's a Dunk Low, so meh, but those are a lot better than the other Dunk Lows. I like that a lot.
My only thoughts are like the colors. Like I don't think those are even like directly Clark University's color scheme. Like the orange throws me off a little bit. And maybe it's just the photo. It looks like
a shade of red, though. It looks like another, because it's against red, it looks like another shade of red.
Because Clark University, it's red and black, I believe, or red and gray.
Well, they don't want to look like, Georgia colors.
Well, yeah.
So.
But I mean, that's So that is
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's all the finals for all the shoes. We just like all the guests that we have on talking about the most exclusive and newest shoes coming out, get their opinions. You may be wondering, where's Nick? Nick is not here on this episode because he is in Minnesota right now with his girlfriend, who you guys met on the channel last week. So he'll be there till tonight. He gets back at like 11 tonight. So he's not on this episode, but obviously Nick will be back probably in the next episode. Or maybe my wife. I don't know which episode's coming next. So we got a couple coming. But
so what's the name of this now?
This is the Friends and Family podcast.
So it makes sense that you have all your friends and family.
I'm going for that, and I think it'll be also cool when we go back to LA to get some of the guests we've had on the main channel on here. I'm thinking DJ Ski would be an awesome one. I think P-Rod would be a really cool one. I think that is kind of where this will lend to in the future. But
yeah, I mean, like Scotty does this stuff every day, all the time. So
and I love also just the Friends one too. Like I don't want it to be just guests because when I watch a lot of podcasts, I like when it's just like everybody hanging out.
I liked our podcast, but
that's something to get on. We had a podcast together.
It's great. If you hadn't seen it, we did 40 episodes of the Flexcast.
Yep.
Pretty much had a ton of all of our friends on it and a bunch of others. But I don't listen to podcasts. Like I like being on them. I like participating. I think they're fun. But I don't listen back to our podcasts, and I don't listen to any other podcasts. So you're the one to kind of say, hey, look, we need guests and stuff. But look, you do you. Do whatever you think makes sense, and that's just kind of my perspective on life anyway.
Yeah, because I watch. That's all I watch is podcasts, and I think
watch them and listen to them, or just watch them?
Basically a little bit of both. It depends. The podcast I listen to like 3.5 hours long, so that I like watch a little bit, but mainly I just put a headphone in and I'm
Which
like
podcast is
there's a couple. I like Impulsive. Sometimes listen to the Nelk Boys. Speaking of Impulsive, we're gonna do a little taste test later on some of the new Prime flavors. They send them out to the warehouse.
I've never had Prime in my life,
and this would be cool to go ahead and get your taste test.
Yeah.
But them H3 Podcast is one. He's kind of changed his views on a lot of stuff over time. A lot of people have disliked him and stuff, but his is some I'll throw on from time to time. But I like the longer form podcast, and I like how Impulsive,
like Joe Rogan. Like he's has like 3 hours.
Joe Rogan's a good one. Yeah. His are. I used to a lot when I used to work at the car dealerships because I'd be like 8 hours a day doing whatever, and I didn't have. I had headphones in.
Cars and photographing cars.
Yeah, I would just have literally a Joe Rogan episode after Joe Rogan episode, and I haven't listened to it in a while. I listened to Mr. Beast's episode. I don't know if you listened to that one. That was a good one.
I haven't. No.
And then Sean O'Malley was on there this week, and I meant to listen on a plane ride home.
Remember, so.
Yeah, true. But that's a good one. Mr. Beast one's crazy. So that's what it is. So yeah, we had a podcast before. We did 40 episodes. We stopped doing it. It was kind of hard for us all to get together, especially because I moved after that, and then it was like.
So we addressed that first. Well, why does Flexcast? Because I get a lot of people asking me, because I was the one putting it up all the time. What happened to Flexcast? Like, are you guys not friends anymore?
Well, I guess we'll start with the main channel reason why, and then lead into the podcast. There's more people worried about that. So obviously, Haas was in a ton of videos. We did a bunch of the millionaire does this, millionaire does that. It was. During COVID, it was a lot of fun because
we don't need the millionaire title. Like we know it's
yeah, exactly. But it's like, and that's the same thing when I put cameraman in the title. People are like, we don't need it, but it's for like people who don't watch the channel.
Yeah, it makes sense. New viewers.
Yeah,
right.
And so we did a video. So should we go back to how we met or go into why you have been in the videos?
Whatever you want.
I think we just take it back. Let's take it back and lead you guys up to everything. So Haas and I met. Our buddy Matt Kim was doing he used to do a lot of car events, and he was getting new wheels for his car at our friends at Butler Tire, who great friends, buy all our wheels and tires from. Too many. We buy so many. Love you, Danny.
Yep.
He was doing a meet there for his new wheels, and Danny and Matt invited me because I followed Matt on Instagram, and it just so happened that Haas was there with a couple other guys that hang out with exotic cars in Atlanta.
And Matt and I have been friends for, gosh, I don't know, 6, 7 years.
Long time.
And I've been in the exotic car world in Atlanta for a long time. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us have kind of, known each other, been in the same circles for a while. In the past 10 years, there's maybe like, I don't know, 6 or 7 of us that are still around, basically. Because people come and go. Just like money, cars, anything, it comes and goes. But a lot of us know each other or are friends with each other, right? So there's even, sure, we know a lot of people in general, and there's a smaller group that know and like each other and hang out with each other, right? And so Matt and I, still are very good friends. Just talked to him the other day. Mm-hmm. But Matt was like, hey, look, I got a couple friends coming out, and it was in Buckhead, which is both now.
Yeah.
Our neighborhoods.
We're back in the city.
Yeah.
We're back.
So it was nearby, and we were going to grab some lunch, whatever. And I was like, oh, I have an errand to run also. So I'll come out. Let's hang out. And we were doing some stuff. There's maybe 3 or 4 other guys there. And then he told me, he was like, yeah, I'm going to invite this like internet kid. And I was like, Okay. Are we cussing, by the way?
We're this far in, yeah. After 30 seconds, you're good.
Yeah.
I don't do it too. I don't like blatantly just do it, but if you're comfortable, do it.
It's who I am.
Yep, it is.
I don't give a fuck.
I figured that.
So, anyway, I was like, who the fuck is this kid? And he was like, like
I think everyone thought that about me.
Well, because you look 12 years old.
Yep.
I mean, and if you shave this stuff off, he looks 8 years old.
Yep.
But I was like, all right, cool. Like, why not? Sure. And like, he's got this R8 he loves, which you now have again.
I have.
It's just coming back. Everything's the same. And I was like, all right, well, and Matt was like, no, he's a nice guy. So I haven't actually met him, but I met him on social media. And I was like, all right, cool. Why not? Sure. So you came by.
Yep.
Matt got his wheels on. We took some videos, do some stuff, just hanging out. And then we went to lunch.
Yeah, so we walked across the street to the Fellinis.
Nick was there.
Nick was there too, yeah. So I didn't know anybody. So it was kind of an awkward situation for me because like I had my R8. I have my car friends, but these guys are different guys. And like they're kind of the exotic people. And like I had never met them. So
it was your first exotic.
It was. Yeah. And so we all went to lunch and I went and sat with them. And then one of our friends, Peter, made a comment about an exhaust. And I was sitting there and I made a comment about I have that exhaust, whatever. And so then he was like, oh, you have the R8. And then we all started talking. And then one thing led to another where Haas needed some video equipment. Yeah, he needed some video equipment for the job at the time that he had. And so they were all like, perfect, Harrison's here. Let's go to Best Buy. Let's go right now. And the friend group,
YouTube guy will tell you what cameras you need, all the lenses. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a whole social media thing with my company.
Yeah.
And that was my plan at the time. And I was like, I don't know anything about it. And they were like, oh, well, this guy does. And so I started talking to both you and Nick about it and talking your outfit. And then someone was like, let's just go. It's around the corner. And I was like, okay. And then like a lot of our friends do, we did it together. We all went. And I'm trying to get like good information out of Nick and you. And then in the meantime, my buddies are around here like throwing like, oh, you need this. It's 10 grand. You need that. And then you need this one. It's another 3,000. Yep. And then Harrison was like, no, you don't need any of that stuff. And it was a good time. We had a great time. And it ended up being like, I don't know, an hour and a half of just trying to get like a couple of lenses, camera, mic, just normal stuff. Basically this setup that we have here, a tripod, lighting, all that stuff. Took us an hour and a half, but I had a cart full of things, and then by the end of it, I was trying to see if I could take most of that stuff out. Yep. So that's how we first met, and we hung out after that a little bit, and then we like that same day, I figured out you also had a Raptor. I had a Raptor at the time too, and I loved his Raptor. He had just wrapped your Raptor just like your current R8 right now, all gray with a
orange
dash of orange. Yeah. So I was like, oh, he's all right. He's a nice guy, and I'm a natural extrovert, right? So I'm always interacting. That's how I get energy. Harrison, I could tell, is a little bit like, okay, that's cool. Not that he was antisocial or anything. That's a misconception, but that he was just kind of reserved. And after I think we had spent 3.5 hours together, he was like, I'm done for the day. Like I'm gonna leave.
So the thing that I learned about that friend group that day that it still holds true to this day is like while we were sitting at lunch, we're like, let's go right now. We're going right now. Yeah. We're going to buy right now.
No time like the present.
And so, and then that leads to when we get to Best Buy, they're like, you need to buy this, you need to buy this, you need to buy this. And so I would like slyly be like, oh, so you only need this camera. Because I'd be like, this camera's good. And then they bring over like 2 boxes of like lights and tripods, and they probably put like 10 grand worth of stuff. Then we narrowed it down to like $3,500 probably worth of stuff, or probably more.
And by the way, this is also, so here's a common thread here and why I think it works between what I've been saying for a long time, especially on our podcast, where entrepreneurs and YouTubers, creators in general, just all creators. Right now we talk about TikTokers and all that stuff, but creators in general and entrepreneurs are very similar. Like they run a similar path. Like there's a lot of, you wear different hats. You start kind of on your own, and you're kind of creating a market for yourself. Yep. And most of our friends, by the way, this was like on a Tuesday when we met, like a Tuesday at
random
2 p.m. But all of us, kind of made our own schedules and we did our own thing. So like, there's no time like the present. So that we kind of do those things. Or we decide something like, hey, fuck it, let's go to Vegas tomorrow. Like, why not? Yep. And so we have that flexibility, but also there's a similar theme and thought process to how we approach life, how we approach business, how we approach problems. And I think that's one of the main reasons why people like you and me click so well. There is an age difference though. Although
20 years.
Yeah, that's not, no. But I mean, it's what, 12 years?
I'm 27.
Yeah, 11 years.
11 years.
I mean, a few months.
10 years. Let's just say 10 years.
In a few months, it'll be 12 years. But see, that doesn't matter to me either. You know, like it's about kind of a meeting of the minds. And you know, Harrison's also kind of an old man. He's mentally quite mature for his age. But I think a lot of, you know, what meshes well between people like us and you and me is that kind of similar approach to life.
Yeah. And all the people there, we all kind of like clicked with some of them, and it was just cool because it was finally riding with some people that like had similar cars and stuff, because I hadn't really met anybody. I knew some people going to like Cafe and Octane, but it's like you meet.
Right, you're friends with all the same people today.
Yeah, still
that we all met that day.
Pretty much, yeah.
Except for maybe one who's not even here anymore, but
yeah,
everybody else, like it's our group of friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so they had like their group of friends, and I kind of started hanging out more and kind of got intertwined. And
this is pre-COVID, by the way.
And some of them were like, who is this kid? I don't want him in here, especially some specific. No, and I love him now. Him and I are good friends now. We hang out all the time.
But I forced, so I was like, trust me, because I know him, I know you, and I was like, look, I'm gonna bring Harrison into this stuff. You're like, who the fuck is this kid? No, you can't do that, because we've been around for years, right? We've all done a lot of stuff together and spent a lot of time. Like, who's this guy you're just throwing in here? I was like, trust me, he meshes well. He's good, and I vouch for you. And now they like you better than they like me.
I mean, totally different personalities, obviously. But yeah, and that was like right before COVID hit, and then during COVID. And so then Haas, we lived like 6 minutes away from each other.
Well, you 2 minutes to come out of your deck at the time.
Yeah.
It was like 4 minutes, but
yeah. And so then he started inviting me over, because Haas loves having people over all the time, every day, every second. So he started inviting me over, and so it was easy for me because I had nothing else to do, because nobody's doing anything. So and
then we started quarantining, right?
Yep.
So like everyone needed to limit their interaction with others. And so for, I don't know, months, the only people that we saw were like each other, like our families and each other. That's pretty much it. Maybe one or two, Nick and Blake, but very few people, you know, but we would come to my house and just kind of, you know, it's a larger area, so we could even kind of never even talk or see each other and still hang out, you know. So it was, we bonded quite well over COVID, which I'm sure a lot of people in general, you know, formed a lot of relationships or fell apart. Yeah, exactly, during COVID. But that's kind of where we became BFF.
Yeah, and like even it was my wife's birthday in the middle of COVID. Like Sophie and I went over, ordered some tacos and margaritas, and
we had a birthday party.
Had a birthday and it was just her and I hanging out at the pool, and then like Haas came down like an hour later and started hanging out. Like that was kind of how it was. So it made it so easy for filming because he was right there. I could shoot down the road.
And I had never bought a pair of sneakers in my life.
True. And
there was that too.
Our first video, I took him sneaker shopping, and he bought a bunch of stuff, a bunch of shoes, and opened him up to it. And then he was only wearing Ferragamos, and then he hasn't worn a Ferragamo since, pretty much.
Well, that's not true. I
haven't seen a Ferragamo since.
I wore some in the Bahamas.
Oh, you did? You did.
But it's all I wore before.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's I mean, look at my whole fit now. Right, it's a different life, but I think what was cool about that was that you didn't judge me for that, right?
Yeah.
You weren't like, oh, you're a fucking moron, what a loser you are. Like I was just like, it's just not my thing, but I'm open to it. I wanted to learn, and then we've done a bunch of videos. We spent a lot of time together. Like now, I know quite a bit. I'm into it. There's things I like, things I don't, things I don't care for. But I mean, we just walked in the warehouse, and you see back here, I'm like, I'm trying to pick out what my next purchases might be. I'm like, hey, you know, can you throw me some of these? What can I pay you for them? But now it's just part of, you know, what I do.
Yeah, and I think the viewers, you guys started to notice as he gained knowledge in the videos. They'd be like, well, Haas actually isn't just some rich guy who doesn't know what he's talking about. He actually is trying to learn about the silhouettes, the colorways, this and that. Because we did some videos together. I just threw him into it, and he learned.
I didn't know anything, and I think initially you have a lot of hardcore people that were like, "Who's this, you know, guy who just doesn't give it?" Yeah, right. And they assumed a lot, and then I think over time you're right. Like as we did more and more, like okay, this guy's not so bad. He's a little bit entertaining. And then Harrison and I have a very good rapport, right? Our interaction I think goes well on camera. Which everyone has told us that. But it's just how our relationship is. Like we're like that all the time.
Yeah, we just chirp at each other all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we do on camera is no different than how we interact on a daily basis. So I think it worked well, and then people started to realize like, oh, he does like that stuff. He cares about it, and there was very little hate anymore. You know, now it's just, you know, a guy who just likes sneakers and you know, a lot of the same culture stuff and a lot of the fits that now you wear and introduce me to. Like now it's all I wear. So.
Yeah, I have that effect on people when I wear Represent. I start giving them some hand-me-downs, and I'm like, you want this, and then that's all they order. Literally everyone.
Well, the first time, like I saw all of his Represent stuff, and I was like, that's dope. And he was like, yeah, they have like a Black Friday sale, and I was like, great.
Best sell of the year.
And so I think I spent like a couple grand on like just like a whole wardrobe of Represent stuff, and I love it. And then like the next season came, and I was like, okay, now it's hot. And I need more stuff. So then I was like, hey, Harrison, like he's like, oh, I'm getting, cycling stuff out. And I was like, oh, can I get some of your stuff? And oddly enough, we wear the same sizes.
Yeah, it's very odd. I'm a foot taller than him.
Oh, okay.
They think I'm really short too. They do not believe my height. I'm 6'1". I'll even say. I think I'm 6'2".
I'm 5'9". When we're in videos, especially when he like stands, closer like this, he's like, oh, look how small Haas is, But I mean, it does make me look short. And then like Eric is tall. So a lot of my friends in videos, like I look super short.
Yeah.
But, I'm fine with it.
A lot of YouTubers are really tall, and it's just the wide angle lens that make them look small. But I'm like 6'1", 6'2", and people don't believe it. But we do wear a similar size and Represent, and I don't know how, but somehow it works.
It does work. Like I like a slightly baggier fit. For my lounge clothing, like this is all casual lounge clothing, right? And then you just because of your body type, it clothes fall well on you.
Yep,
right?
I would say.
And I think
looking for that.
Yeah, like the sizes are the same, so it's hilarious, but it actually works out better for how I like to wear it and how you like to wear it. It's slightly different, but same sizes and shoes too. So
that kind of leans us up to where we are now, which is. Oh, there's a little bit in between. So we were doing the podcast. I then bought my first house in this Buckhead, and I moved probably 15 minutes away.
Yeah, that was like 3.5 times farther than where he was.
And so we still were doing the podcast then, but we started hanging out a little bit less. And then I had
Steve was on the podcast too, right? And so he was always coming in, 30 minutes away, something like that.
Yep. And so then after that, I had some stuff happen in the city, which I'll probably talk about when I talk about my car video. I might go into a little bit into it. I haven't really talked about it much, but there's some stuff that happened in the city that caused me to move out to the suburbs. And it was like, we got to go because of stuff that was happening around the city. So we moved.
I mean, just generally, we can address that because like in Atlanta, especially in Buckhead, for a couple years, right at COVID, and for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, crime and all sorts of things that were happening in the city it wasn't being dealt with. There was not a strong police presence, so it just generally made people and like you guys feel uncomfortable, especially when you have interactions in person at your home, in your car, wherever. You can't just go out and go to the grocery store without worrying about that stuff. That was one of the reasons that drove you.
Yeah,
right.
And the problem, another problem of it was the house that we had bought. It was Buckhead, but it was really like Lindbergh, Buckhead area.
It was on the outskirts of the neighborhood that he lived in before, which he was comfortable with, and then being out there so close to the edge of it, it was very different.
And before I was in a high rise, 17 stories up, to where I didn't have many bad interactions where I was living, and I had 24/7 security and all that. When I go to the townhouse, there was no gate. There's supposed to be a gate being put up. They didn't. We were supposed to be able to put a fence in our backyard. They wouldn't let us. And so we had so much less security that there's a lot of people who kept trying to come up to our house, trying to get in the house. And all of that combined with everything that happened, we were like, we're going to the suburbs. So then that lent to be 25 minutes away.
35.
30. Like get 30.
25 at 2 in the morning maybe. But normally.
Like now with this new traffic pattern, 30 minutes.
I agree.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
But before it was 45 minutes.
Yeah, but 45 minutes. So I moved up there, and that just kind of lent to where like Haas and I started seeing each other a little bit less, and then that we stopped filming videos together as much because I moved so far away, and I didn't go into Buckhead for a year. Yeah. Like I literally, Sophie was kind of traumatized about some stuff that happened, and I was like, I can't put her through that. I stopped going down there unless I was going to like sneaker stores, which is kind of more in Atlanta. Yeah. And so that was kind of like.
And I was less available because part of the reason why I stopped doing stuff on YouTube, like I still get people like, hey, why'd you stop on YouTube? Yep. Well, YouTube took me, I learned a lot about production. I learned a lot about, being a creator, etc. But that actually led me to actual TV and film production. So I got into working in the production world and then became part of a company and helped grow and scale that company. It was a TV and film production company. We work on massive stuff like Marvel films and
low-key,
so and Black Adam recently that just came out. We worked on that.
Black Panther.
Yeah, both. The
Black Panther is a great movie,
and Black Adam. I haven't seen either, by the way.
I haven't seen Black Adam. I heard some mixed reviews.
Yeah. Same.
But I need to say this. As he's saying, he worked at a company. Haas, right before COVID, had left. You had sold your company.
I sold that company and left 6 months the day.
And
which
so
was the week before COVID.
And so Haas wasn't working for like 2.5 years, pretty much 2 years. And so I guess it was like 2 years,
well,
a year and a half, 2 years,
a little less than 2. Yeah, a little under.
Well, because I don't count. I'm counting like the newer thing, business thing you took on. But if you're including the production company, then it's like a year and a half.
Yeah, right.
And so he wasn't working, and my schedule's so open that we just could do anything. But then,
and you were 5 minutes away at the time.
Exactly.
Right.
So then he started working at this production company, and so then he had a little bit more stuff. You were still available, but not the same.
Yeah.
And then you have the current thing that place you're working at or job you're doing.
I'm basically I took over and I'm building a new company.
Yep.
Another kind of in my wheelhouse, a SaaS healthcare company. Basically software as a service is what SaaS is, but basically another software company. So things that I've done in the past, like 4 or 5 of the times, I help build early stage software companies and scale them, bring them, to a certain point, usually at the point where they get sold. So 10 million in revenue is kind of where, things start happening for a lot of companies. And so that's generally kind of been what I've done and done well. And so I kind of got back to that. Someone made me an offer I couldn't refuse in terms of equity and all that stuff. And so after the production company stuff, and we had, by the way, with the production company, I didn't just leave it. I'm still involved, but we had kind of accomplished our goal that we had set out for within pretty much a year. So one of the major goals that we had was some large partnerships with major studios, things like that. And we accomplished that. We negotiated that. We did all that stuff. We moved our location, all that. So that was, pretty successful. And it was kind of like, okay, at that point, that's kind of why I came to that company.
Yep.
And now I was kind of looking for something a little more challenging again, because I like that. I like that grind. I like that, every day something different. If I have to do a 9 to 5, I shoot myself in the fucking face. Like I never ever want that.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why, I then switched to what I'm doing now. I've been doing that for 7-8 months now, but also where I actually have something through most of my days where I would FaceTime Harris in the morning, like, hey, what are we doing today?
Hey, what are you doing? Yeah, exactly. One of the biggest questions that I think people want to know that we've never even talked about on the channel. It's not a big. I didn't even prep you for this.
What's happening?
But it's pretty. I think it's people would want to know, and you don't have to give it in-depth details. How did you make your money initially? Now you have different, but everyone asks a question because multi-millionaire, millionaire, whatever, seeing these cars and stuff. People want to know, how do you make your money? We never really talked about it. And again,
we never on your channel.
Yeah, never. Sure. And like, I think there's a very easy way to say it without giving details, whatever. You can give as much detail as you want, but people want to know that because.
No, I've actually addressed this. I made a video on my channel that's like, top 10 questions I get asked. And the first one, the number one is, how did you make money? And I'm very comfortable talking about that because I basically helped build, like I just mentioned earlier, I helped build companies and sell them. Right. That's the very easy answer. But essentially, I'm an entrepreneur, and I like to create new companies, find a problem, solve it. Look for opportunities to create value. Right. Whether it's for individuals, for companies, just in general. Like just how I see the world. Right. I see problems and I want to solve them. I want to create less friction for customers and interactions and. That's how I like to approach things. Now, I take that into how I want to be every day, and that's solving new problems. I don't like we were talking about earlier, I don't want a 9 to 5, right? So that lends itself to a lot of self-awareness as well for me, and knowing me and who I am, what I do well, what I don't do well, by the way. And that led me to building my own companies. And so I've built my own companies. I've run other companies. I've sold them multiple times. So now, I mean, after I sold my third company, I was like, okay, maybe I am like an entrepreneur. I was like, oh, maybe it worked out well the first time. Cool. Second time, I was like, okay, I got really lucky. Yeah. Third time, I was like, okay, maybe they're right. Like someone was like, oh, he's just a serial entrepreneur. I was like, shit, I guess I am.
Yeah.
And then, the fourth time was much bigger scale, combined other assets, sold that to a public company, then did the same thing again and sold that even bigger to a private equity company. So I've done everything from angels, bootstrapping my own companies, to VC, and then also private equity. So I've been all, for those of you who know what those things are, it's ways to get money and build companies, basically. And so I've done that a number of times, and doing so has allowed me a number of like large windfalls of cash. And when you sell a company and you have a certain ownership in that, you often get based on your equity percentage, you get paid out. So it's never been a salary game for me. I've never made much in salary ever in my life. I don't really want a salary, but it's those big windfalls and doing it a number of times, but also just fucking hard work. Like for the last, I'd say couple years has been very different. But before that, for 20 something years. I mean, I started working when I was like 13 years old.
Yep.
Cash on the table, that type of stuff. And I was working like 3 part-time jobs. And in college, I did all that stuff. But anyway, I worked my ass off for a really, really long time. And I got to the point where I was comfortable enough. Like, I don't think I'm rich, by the way, I'm not. But
Hoss burned through some cash in the past couple of years.
That's true too. But I got to the point where I was very comfortable in my life. And I have been for a while, but COVID was a really good time for me to just, kind of take stock and enjoy.
Yep.
And so that's what led us to doing all the stuff we did and the things that I've done, and, doing stuff like taking a hovercraft to LA and putting a trail hitch on my rolls and, all the crazy stuff, but really just things that I enjoy, things that I had fun with and things that you enjoy. And we just would do that together. So that kind of brings me again back to not only just how I like to live my life, but also how I made some money, and then also what I'm doing now and why I still do this stuff, because I enjoy it. I like the grind.
Yeah, I think it's a good topic, and I think I would like to do a podcast in the future, kind of going more in depth too on like making money and stuff on YouTube on my side, because now I get that question a million times now, because I made a TikTok and I started posting some stuff for like my cars, and nobody knows who I am on TikTok because it's a new generation. So they're like, how does this kid make money? This makes no sense. How much money does his parents have? He got it from his parents, like the classic comments, which I got on YouTube for a long time. And then those eventually go away because people learn the ins and outs of YouTube. But I think it'd be good to go in depth on the ins and outs and how people make money and how much money people are making on YouTube, because, and I don't like to give up exact finances of how much I make, and I probably wouldn't do that, but just general ballparks of like how much money you can make, because people are making a lot of money, and not just Mr. Beast. It's like niche channels, like especially like mine and CPMs and all those things. And a lot of people nerd out over that. And so that's some interesting stuff that I want to talk about in the future. And a cool episode, and it'd be cool to have you on in the future, is if Eric comes in town to do an episode with him, because Hoss went with Eric. You met him through me, right?
Yeah, right. And I tried to pay for the couches that he bought.
Yep. So
and he was like, no, because I'm not sure it was gonna be like, this is when he was small, and he's like, I'm not sure it's gonna work. I don't want to screw you if it doesn't work out. It was like 17 grand or something like that.
Yep.
And he's like, I'd rather screw a bank.
Yep.
But yeah, I was like, I'll fund you, because when you introduced me, I was like, his content's great. He's gonna be there.
He had like 1,000 subs, and so
nothing.
Yeah, and so that's like, he's somebody that him and I actually. I'll give a brief story because I want to talk about him whenever he comes to Atlanta, because he's doing everything and
Harrison
all the time.
Is Eric's YouTube godfather,
and he will say that. And I know Eric because of a friend through somebody I went to church with when I was a kid, and
he grew up in the area.
Yeah, he grew up in the area that I grew up in. And I had met him before, and I knew some of the friends and whatever, and I had been to his house, and like we had met and not talked about much. And then one day we were talking a little bit more. He's making videos, and I was like, these videos are actually good, but he gets like 100 views because he had 50 subs.
But it was just gonna pop. It was just a matter of time.
I knew
all
it.
saw it.
So he came to me and he goes, hey, I want to talk to you about YouTube. I want to pick your brain. So I said, all right, let's go to a bar, let's get some beers, and let's talk about it. We sat at a bar for 2-3 hours, broke everything down, and like he had so many questions because he was asking like financial sides of things, because like I had bought my R8 at the time, and he's like, how are you making enough money to buy
Clearly
this car?
something's working out. You know?
Exactly. And so then I broke all that down, and now he has over probably almost 10 times the amount of subs. He's got 5 times the amount of subs as me right now. He just hit 10 mil, which is insane. So that would be awesome, an awesome orange story. And he came back. He came to the warehouse like 6 months ago or so. He came back home on his
New Year's.
So it'll be this year. He comes home for stop making videos for a year, but he's like, I think it's like Mr. Beast and Eric's like number 3. He's like top 3 YouTubers.
I think I agree with you, but I would say that Eric is the future of YouTube right now. Like, yes, Mr. Beast just cracked over PewDiePie.
Yeah.
Number one. Mr. Beast is
different style of content too.
Kind of. Eric's old style of content is a little bit different than now, but I understand that too.
You evolve,
yeah, exactly. He's evolved, and he's doing what makes sense for what works and what people want to see.
Yep.
Which is a little bit more towards that Mr. Beast type thing. That said, it's still different, right?
Yep.
But I think Eric is going to be even bigger than he is now. Like, he's fucking massive, he's huge. I think everyone who knows their shit can recognize talent. Like that's why I could see it in other people, and you and Eric and others, and people I hire, right? And why people invest in others, because you can see talent. And where they are right now is irrelevant. Like, you can see that if they kind of go along the way and they're not dumb about it, right? People make mistakes. It is what it is. But Eric is like really set on he's very motivated, very disciplined. And he actually asked me, he was like, when we did the video together, he was like, I want to be a billionaire. Like, I don't want to just like do this, that. I want to be top of everything. I want to be the best. And he was like, what would you, he asked me like my advice. And I was like, oh, thanks for asking me. But I was like, you are doing it. Like, you just need to keep doing, the way you think, not just like keep just doing what you're doing now. Don't misunderstand. I was like, keep making decisions you're making, keep attacking things the way you do. So it's like, he's thinking about, okay, what can I do here to improve? What can I do here all the time? And he's constantly evolving. And he's constantly working. He's constantly grinding. And then he takes time out to say, when you were just talking about when he came back, he takes a couple weeks and he just like goes on a retreat, kind of, then he does like a vision thing, like, okay, what do I want to do for the next year, 3 years, 5 years? That's what I'm talking about. That's the process that I'm referring to. And he had the right process he did early on, and we recognized it. And he just was, on his way. And
he's skyrocketed. Because I remember he sent me a screenshot of the first time he made like real big money on ad revenue for a month. And he was like, how is this possible?
Right.
And I was like, dude, you're doing it. And like, you can go back, and this is will prove, and Eric will say, I'll prove it. You go back to like one of his first videos, you'll see me commenting on it, be like, sick. And when I commented, it was like 3 comments maybe. Yeah. And so that's what was cool about it, is like, awesome. He legit, like, he did a video. I remember one specifically, he rented a F-150 and then put some cardboard on it, spray painted it silver, and made it a fake Cybertruck. And that video had 200 views. And I was like, this is a great video and great idea, because he owned a production company before. And then he got on
wedding production, I think.
Yeah, wedding. Yeah. And then he got on Ed Bolian's VinWiki channel, which is a local one here, and who we know through cars. And that was like one of his first times where he like got like 1,000 views after that video, because like he's an interesting story.
But it kind of went viral without him.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, like there's stories about it, but it didn't go like crazy.
Right. And then there were like posts about it. That blew up.
That made
not
him
his video
to make, and that was why like people like VinWiki saw it. So he was local and all that. So we'll talk about that in the future. That could be a cool.
That's a whole separate episode. But I mean, I don't even know how we got that. But
I know, me either.
But so it's the same. It's the same thing that I've been saying earlier, right? And at the outset of this podcast, that entrepreneurs, creators, they think similarly, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same skill set a lot of ways. It's just that it's newer, it's different. Yep. And that's also why I was a huge fan of your current management, right? Before they were your management, I was a huge fan of them. I said, if I were doing management, this is how I would do it.
Yep.
Because they're based on not just like, hey, do sponsorships, do promos, but let's see what we can do to build a business based on your following, what you're good at, what you're doing. And things that are evergreen, not just like, hey, a transaction right here.
Yep.
And I love that, and that's what the best creators right now are doing. Look at Mr. Beast right now, right?
Yep.
He's got Feastables, right, which is killing it. He's got Mr. Beast Burger, which by the way, I don't know if you know this, it was the fastest growing burger chain.
Not surprised,
because they had increased so many of the ghost kitchens throughout the nation, et cetera. They were like 1,800 locations at one point when I looked. I mean, they're well beyond that now.
Yeah.
But it was crazy how fast they were growing. But it was because of the strength of his viewership, his following, and then converting that, not just monetizing it, but converting it into real sustainable businesses. And again, that's even closer to entrepreneurs and creators. It's the same thing now. I think eventually, like you're starting to see it now in the trends of TikTok, et cetera. I think that most CEOs like myself are going to be they're going to be forced to participate as creators, or the companies will, right? But usually it starts when you're young and small. That the CEO is like also the CFO, and he's also the COO, and he's also the head of sales and everything. So I think that entrepreneurs, as in the next 10 years that you see entrepreneurs, it's less going to be about just business. It's going to be about, okay, how do you overlay social media? How do you overlay being a creator? How do you overlay content, et cetera, in a digital presence along with your business? And I think that's going to be a key part, and why we get along so well.
Yeah, and I think that leads us into talking about creators' products. A good time to go ahead and do a little taste test on some of these products. This is Prime. This is KSI and Logan Paul's. This is a hydration beverage.
So it's not like they don't call it an energy drink or
hydration drink.
Yeah, just okay.
And so one of the things that's interesting about it is the taste and flavor, in my opinion, is not a little sugar. It's taste sweet, but it has 2 grams of sugar, and they use coconut water as a way to do that. So you'll probably end up drinking way more than I will. So I'm just going to pour some in a cup for me. We're first going to drink the Meta Moon, which the Meta Moon, I don't even know what the flavor's supposed to be of this, but it smells.
I've never had Prime before.
It smells.
I've never had
interesting.
I'm a big fan of. Okay, so early when I was playing lots of sports and college and stuff, I was a big fan of Gatorade. Then I moved to Powerade, and then I moved to as I aged to G2 and Gatorade AM and all the less and less sweet versions of them. And now I drink organic Gatorade, which I think is great, but it's still Gatorade basically. Yeah. And I've never had Prime, but I'm interested in tasting.
Yeah, let's get your taste test first, because I've already tasted it. I already know what it's like. This is the Meta Moon. It's got a pretty poignant smell.
Poignant, yeah.
Taste it. Let's see what it is. What do you think? Initial thoughts.
Tastes a little bit like medicine.
Tastes like medicine. It's this one. I'm trying to figure out what the smell of this one is.
I get some ASMR tasting here.
It tastes like a candy. Stop. People are gonna hate that. It tastes like a candy.
Yeah, I don't like it.
So that one is a no-go.
It tastes like, okay, honestly, it's like a lighter version of medicine. It's not like cough syrup or something, but the taste is so artificial to me that it tastes like medicine.
All right, and
then like a light cough syrup.
This one is I'm gonna pour the rest of this in here, because I'm not gonna drink it. This next one is Ice Pop, which is the classic,
like the Bomb Pop,
like the one that you get on 4th of July.
Ice cream.
Yep, and this one is clear and it smells just like it. So again, same thing.
It smells exactly like it.
Yeah,
and those are crazy sweet,
and it's clear. Wow. Actually, that they did a good job on that. I think the flavor's pretty good on that.
10% coconut water?
Yeah, that's how they get the flavor. That's what they say.
That's how they get the sweetness. But
yep.
So that was sweeter in a way.
Yep.
But
keep tasting it. Keep tasting it.
Yeah. So the smell is perfect.
Uh-huh.
It to the Bomb Pop, right? The Ice
Pop.
But it doesn't taste like that.
It's a little bit off. Now, I want you to taste an original flavor, because
but it's not bad. Honestly, this tastes like a kid's drink to me. It just tastes like a something that an 11-year-old would love, but that I would never want more than a sip of.
Taste that one. That is an original flavor. I think that tastes way different than these two.
Tropical Punch.
Punch.
Same stuff. Okay.
Yep. Same everything.
And this is a lot like red Gatorade.
Yep. Fruit
Smells
punch.
Like it, at least.
Yep. And I feel like that has totally different flavor profile.
I need like a palate cleanser, like water.
Let's see. I feel like it's totally different.
Okay, not bad.
So one to me
not bad.
Feels a lot stronger of a flavor.
Yeah, and
it seems super sweet for only 2 grams.
I will say that the smells smell incredibly sweet.
Yep.
And they're accurate, but the taste is not as sweet as you think it's going to be from the smell. It still tastes sweet. It's still enjoyable to drink, but it doesn't feel like so thick and syrupy or something like that. It doesn't feel like. It's pretty solid. I
think though the Ice Pop one, whatever, felt like a good balance. Where I feel like those sometimes can be a little strong for like I drink a lot of water, so that's why. And he drinks more.
I drink no water.
Yeah, he doesn't drink water at all.
I drink coconut water though.
Yeah, so that's how I think they get a lot of flavor. But it seems like it would have like 30 grams of sugar.
I like this one. Maybe it's because it's a more regular flavor.
Yeah,
those
I think so.
Out there, this is not bad. It's not bad. Now, what's the pricing compared to Gatorade and Powerade and all that stuff.
I think they're very similar. The biggest thing that they're having now is in the UK, people can't get it, and it's reselling for like $10 per bottle.
But that's great for them.
And yeah, it is. And they had changed the bottles, and they're going through issues with that. And like you can get it here in stores.
Got supply chain issues just getting bottles and caps and the plastics and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think they're 5% of. They got to 1% of the market cap of sports drinks
market. Yeah,
but
market share.
They send me the new cases every time one comes out, which is cool. I think they do. It's like every influencer. But.
I mean, theoretically, they could lose money on every purchase, and if they just grab market share, they'll get bought. They'll
Yeah, I think that's the goal is to get to like $1 billion company. But yeah.
I mean, it's really not bad. I don't love it, but it's not bad at all.
The interesting thing is when this was announced, they put out a post saying announcement coming, Logan KSI going live, and I thought it was gonna be a third fight announcement, and I didn't even realize that Reed had told us this was coming.
I remember that. We were in the car.
He told us like 2 months before. We were at F1 Austin, and I don't know why it didn't click.
Reed is the CEO of Night Media, who's his management.
Yeah.
Also manages, Mr. Beast and a lot of other YouTubers.
Who become, and now we're like good friends. We hang out and go to Formula 1 and stuff. But
some of us do. He didn't go this time.
I didn't go this time. But he told us about it, and for some reason it didn't click. And then the second they both came on and showed a ball, I was like, oh my God.
I remember him also saying he hated the name.
Yeah, and I honestly thought when I heard the idea, I was like, this is not going to be, I don't think this is going to work that well because
it was a crowded
it's
market.
An odd
already.
Product.
It is a crowded market.
Yeah, because...
But the combination of their followings, I mean, it's pretty strong.
I think KSI is like, I think KSI to the UK is like The Rock. Like, I think there's not, if you think about it, there are not like celebrities like there are here in the UK. That's like a comparison that I've seen people make, and it kind of, I think it's a little bit true. Like, they have their soccer players, whatever, but there's not like footballers. There's not like, Kim Kardashian is not a good example, but like The Rock is an actor. He started as a WWE wrestler and all that, but like that scale of celebrity where people are like, this is our guy. KSI may not be The Rock, but I think he's on a scale of that version to the UK and the Sidemen and all of them. That's a comparison I think makes sense. Is like that's their bigger celebrities than like, because there's big actors that come from London, that come from UK, but it's like it's a Hollywood movie thing. I don't know. That's just kind of a
okay. I think I see where you're going there. One point I think you're trying to make is it sounds like you're saying that it's the proportion of kind of following, right? So like The Rock is a global celebrity.
Yep.
But in the States, how popular he is, how well known he is, it is comparable in the sense of how well known KSI is in the UK, right?
Yep.
I think in a lot of KSI's following, he's not only latched on to the folks that love him and like his content, but also like all football, soccer, kind of culture, right?
Yep.
So anybody who's into football in Europe and in the UK probably also knows KSI quite well. Yeah. Where obviously The Rock is a movie star, etc., but built a lot of his following based on movies and things like that, WWE, over a long period of time. And if comparatively, like KSI is actually faster growing.
Yeah.
But there are differences there too in terms of dollars and marketability. Yeah. But I do think the other part that you're talking about is that like actors now, like movie stars and stuff, they're going to be kind of, I don't want to say a thing of the past, but they're going to pale in comparison to the ability for creators to launch themselves. Because now creators are their own distribution.
Yep.
Like, that's the difference, right? The Rock had to deal with a lot of other stuff and movie studios and all these things and kind of hack it for a long time. Tom Cruise, anybody. There are gatekeepers to that, many. But there's no gatekeeper to you putting your own content on there. Mm-hmm. And they are ultimately in control of that. So I don't like the association, although it makes sense what the point you were making. I don't like the association of creators to actors. I think they're more like their own distribution companies. Like KSI is the Paramount Pictures of the UK, or will be, right?
That makes sense, yeah.
Mr. Beast is going to be like, Fox, not like Tom Cruise.
Yep.
So, and you can see that already with the businesses that they're starting, with Prime, with all these things, right? So they can choose and be a part of everything or nothing. if they wanted to in the future. But I think they ultimately have more control and will have a larger impact on society in general, right? Sure, there's some age aspects of that, but I think their impact is greater, is going to be greater than 10, 15 years from now than like a movie star, right?
Yep.
In a large TV show or a large movie, I think that they will still have greater power. So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, influencers, that's a new way, but that was just a comparison I saw. And so as that brings to say, they're doing very well. And that's a hard competitive space that they're in. And I think that they did a really good job with like how poignant the flavor is.
You love that word too.
I don't know why. It seems like it works well for that. That I think is a big point, because if this was a very light, almost waterish flavor, I think it wouldn't get the reaction from people. But it's a sweet, but not a bunch of sugar flavor that makes people be like, wow, this tastes good.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically good tasting electrolyte water.
Yep. So that's the segment on Prime, and
I'm taking this one.
Go for it. You can drink all that. We got the other ones over here. I got a whole case of them over there. So I think a good lead to that, it's not even a good lead to that, it's just a separate topic, but I think it'd be interesting to talk about. It's something that, when we started filming together, you had specific cars. I think we should talk about how the garage has changed. And I've said this in the last episode. I'm going to talk about mine. I'm going to do a whole video on it. But there's been some change to your garage. When we first started hanging out, in your garage was, I'm going to try to remember, orange Rolls-Royce Wraith 2013. Is that a good guess?
2015.
15. He had the Wraith.
I mean, the Wraith. There's no difference in the years anymore.
Maserati MC Centennial.
Yeah.
And you had, MC Centennial.
It's a convertible GT.
You had...
One you borrowed.
The Aston Martin Rapide.
Yeah.
Then you had the Raptor, and then you had your wife's car and all that. So those are like the four main ones, right? That were like your rotation is the Raptor, Rapide.
Yeah, family car, and then my cars.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we met, that's what I had. And then COVID happened, and I found that I was driving like 1.5 cars.
Yep.
And I was like, these cars just sit here and do nothing. I was like, Harry, take one, because I don't even drive it.
My car was like in the shop.
And then I'd have to put it in the shop and take care of it and stuff like that. So it was kind of annoying to me to have cars that I didn't drive. In the past, though, I would say before that, I always liked the idea of having like purposeful cars, right? So if I drove up to the lake, or if I wanted to, go off-roading, or if I wanted to bring 4 people with me and go to dinner or something, I have different cars for different things. Or if I wanted to just, go fast and stuff like that. But the things that I was doing, and also how often I was driving, kind of made me move towards, fewer cars, one, and then more specific uses for those cars.
Yep.
So, and also the Wraith was such a good car, like as my, it became my daily, that I just didn't need 2 other cars for that.
Yeah.
Also, I wasn't really going to pick up stuff. Everything was delivery. It just drove less. But I also wasn't like doing a lot of stuff that needed a truck anymore.
Yeah, same. That's
so I didn't need that, and it was just kind of a waste.
And you made money on that, right?
I did. I made like 13 grand on my.
You
Raptor.
Probably, if you waited,
I had it for years and put very little, maybe 5,000-6,000 miles on it, maybe 10,000. But I made money on almost all those cars during that time. But I'd sold I lost money in the Rapide
and the Wraith.
Yes, I did.
The Wraith was...
I lost a lot of money in the Wraith.
Yeah.
Because I bought that so far. That wasn't during that time. Like I bought it well before that, and I paid a lot of money for it. So, I had it for like 2 years, year and a half.
Got your use out of it.
Yeah. But I'm not upset about that.
Yeah.
About the Wraith. Anyway, I was driving the Wraith a lot, and then I was like, I was doing more and more track stuff. I wanted a faster car. And I was like, why have all these other cars? I enjoyed my convertible. I enjoyed, having a cool sedan and all that stuff. But then I went to the Ferrari. But before I bought the Ferrari, I was looking at other cars. And I had our buddy's Huracan for a while. I was thinking about buying that from him. And I drove that for a while. Didn't like it. Because everyone had a Huracan.
Yeah.
And 2, it was just like, it just wasn't for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I'm convinced the Aventador is for me. So I was going to buy that from a buddy, and he basically gave it to me for months.
Yep.
And we did videos of that car.
Yep.
And I was going to buy it. And then I was so glad that I did that because I was like, I absolutely don't want this car.
It's a spectacle.
It is a cool car. It is a, kind of a fuckboy car. Like if you want to roll up to a club, like dope. If you want to, drive around at 80 miles an hour and look cool, it's great. If you want to go to a drive-through and rev your engine, awesome.
Insert clip here.
But it wasn't. It was horrible on the track. Horrible.
Yep.
It was supremely impractical. Like we did a video and we had Nick sit in the passenger seat and we bought 6 pairs of shoes and we couldn't fit it. Like we couldn't fit in the car at all. There's no glove box. Mm-hmm. There was no frunk because we had it was a Roadster, so the roof was in there. Like there's no space. So it wasn't really great for anything else. And then I looked at the 720S. You and I went together. We looked at a couple of those, the McLaren 720S, and I landed on the Ferrari F12 because the F12 was kind of everything I wanted. And then I made it my own, and I wrapped it and then did a lot of mods to it. And it basically became my Ferrari race car, and it was fantastic. But it was time to go. I had that for a couple of years and sold it. And now I'm a little more low key. I got the Aston Martin Vanquish Volante, which is a V12 Aston convertible. Alpina B7 replaced my Wraith, and those are the two I have right now for my stuff. And I think it's better because it's overall more low key. The specs I have on them are more understated, and going into recession, I don't really need to be. So that's kind of how I've been the last, I guess, couple years, year and a half.
Yeah,
year and a half. Because I haven't been doing a whole lot. I've been driving very much. I haven't been buying and selling cars as I normally do. I've been on the grind. I've been building stuff, which I love doing. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, I didn't get to. No, I love doing that. But we were tracking a lot, and that was great when I had the Ferrari. And no one takes a F12 really to the track, but I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But every time I did, it basically broke it.
Literally every single time.
Every time, and it wasn't like a small thing. It was the transmission, the gearbox, and Ferrari replaced it. By the way, twice. So we're talking about like $100,000. I was under warranty, thank goodness. $100,000 worth of like repairs just because I was tracking it. And the great thing about Ferrari, which not Lamborghini, but Ferrari's like these are built to be tracked and do whatever you want with it. So it doesn't matter how you've been driving it. But Ferrari corporate, like the global Ferrari was like they sent people to say this has never happened to an F12 gearbox. We need like video evidence. Everything. They believed everything, but they're like we need like video evidence of what this looks like because they've never seen it before.
Yep.
So basically, I hardcore drove my Ferrari, and it was the most, I think, punished F12
100%
around.
Whoever got that, or they kept all the mods on, so they'll probably know.
Well, no, recently they took it off.
Oh, so it's the same place.
I sold it, and the dealer I think might have already sold it. But the only other I think more abused F12. Mine was abused, but with care. Like I would.
He'd fix everything.
I paid thousands just to, like fix a little thing on the interior that like rattled. It just bothered me. But it was perfect. The only other F12 I think is like abused is the DDE one where they put like a
twin turbo
on it. And
do they even still have that car?
I don't know. I don't care
because it was like it's gonna be fixed and then like I don't know what happened. I don't know if that car they got rid of it. I don't even know what happened, but. Yeah, that was kind of thing. So he shifted a lot of cars out, and obviously I move cars all the time, and I have back to my R8 now, and I'm kind of on the hunt now for a car, but maybe I'll talk about that when I talk about my car. So I think that may come out soon because I really want to do it. I think it's interesting, but I filmed a take of it by myself, and I was like, because Nick's been out of town for like a week, but then I was like, I'll probably have Nick here for that, and it'll be better. But that was a whole. It took me like an hour and a half just to go through.
I mean, I could be here and make fun of your car choices too.
I have literally I have the list and I like went through the whole thing.
Did you have your Focus in there?
Focus? What do you mean? My Fusion.
Fusion. Sorry.
Yeah, Fusion's
I'm
there.
so sorry. Ford Fusion.
That was early on. Focus. I'll just throw in someone like what I paid for one. The most expensive car on here is $220,000. That's my Ultraviolet 3RS. Is that right? Yeah, that's how much I paid. The most I paid, but yeah, I'm looking at something now. I don't know.
You've not told me.
Kind of have. SUV.
We also haven't talked about the bet you lost.
Yeah, I made a bet and I lost 10 grand, 11 grand.
I made him a $10,000 bet, and then everyone else, a lot of our friends that we were referring to earlier, they were like, I want in on this bet. So I was like, all right, that's fine. I'll come down to like 5,000 and let everyone else do 1,000.
Yep.
And the bet was that okay, you had an M2 and a GT3 RS. And he said he'd keep them forever. I was like, okay.
No, I said a year.
I know. But you said, I'm going to keep this forever. And I said, no, you won't even keep it a year. He goes, oh, no, I'll keep it a year. And I was like, I'll bet you $10,000 you won't. He was like, fine, done. And I was like, this is the easiest money I'm ever going to make.
And I did it as a motivating factor myself to keep it.
Didn't work. Yeah. How long did you last? 63 days?
2-3 months.
63 days.
So Haas was $5,000 and all my other friends were 1,000.
It was more fun. We got other people in on it. Like, yeah, I'll bet 1,000 on that.
And that I'm going to talk about that too when I do the in-depth video, because that was like an aspect of it, because like which car I shifted to and all that. But do I have regrets? No, I don't care. Whatever. Right, Money's money.
And I think it's funny. I'm not like you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You know, like do what you want to do. And especially because I think a lot of what you and I also enjoy about the car game is just the hunt. You know, finding a deal, getting something new. It's also why I like wrapping and modding, because it feels like a different car sometimes, you know? So I used to buy and sell every 6 months, right? And now I just have less of a need, although I'm still kind of at that kind of 6 months to a year.
I'm just at 2 months.
Yeah.
But no, I've had the R8 5 months now.
But and the car market was very different in the last couple of years than it has been in, you know, the last 15 or 20 years. And now it's starting to move back. It's not fully back, but it's starting to move back to pre-COVID
it's getting
levels.
there. It's getting there for sure.
But there are some Ferraris and some Porsches that are still not moving. But everything else is kind of moving back to normal levels. Yeah,
and one of the things that like I won't go in depth on like that episode, but I was thinking about for a little bit is I was thinking about getting a Performante. I was thinking about selling the R8, selling it again, and getting a Performante.
Which, by the way, he bought the same car he had 2 years ago when I met him, 3 years ago, whatever it was, and just bought it again. And then I was thinking about getting rid of it.
But that's why I decided not to do that, because if I'm going to get one, I would just add on, which I don't need to right now. But I think I just need to keep the R8, like just park it. Because the problem is I don't even drive the R8 that much now. Like I drove it here.
Well, now you're back in my neighborhood, and
but
I've got an open bay in my garage.
But it's not even that. I've got the garage space. I got my parking spots, but
you've bought your spots.
Yeah, I got those, but I just
the Range Rover now,
and I could keep it here. Right. Yeah, and I actually been enjoying.
But if you add on, then would you have another parking spot?
Yeah, but the Range Rover Sophie loves, so I was gonna give that to her and her lease. We just bought her car off lease,
right,
for cheap. And my plan is, what I was kind of thinking about doing this week is, because I've been working on a deal this weekend, was trading that in. Because we just bought off lease a Q5, and then getting a G-Wagon as my daily and trying that out, because prices have come down considerably on those, and there's like so many listed. So I found a place that's not taxing. It's this place here that it's kind of like they sell stuff for a lower price because they sell directly to dealers and whatnot. And I've seen them forever with different stuff. And so I've been talking to them. I don't know if it's going to happen, because I've been waiting for some documents and stuff and all that figured out, because like loans are getting tighter now. Yeah. And I don't really want to put out, like I could buy cash, but I don't want to buy cash. It just would be dumb right now.
No,
so that's what I'm trying to figure out, if I want to do that. Because if not, whatever, like my Range Rover, it's great. And I actually, it made me think of SUVs in a different light, because I was like, I enjoy driving it, and it makes me want to drive the R8 less. And that's why, like, part of me was like, I should just get a Urus and have that, and not R8. But then I was like, I really want the SUVs, because I'd keep Sophie's car, and that would be like whenever I need to go into the city, and I'd have the Urus for driving. But I also don't need that, because those are like $270. So,
well, you could buy one at the bottom market, but it's still $220. So
yeah, and you could buy like a rebuilt title.
It's not a great value, is what we're talking about. Not a great value.
But I feel like I would really love one. But yeah, it's
I think you would. I think you should do the G-Wagon at some point, just because you should own one. I hate G-Wagons. I am not a fan of the G-Wagon. Never have been. But I think, why not? You should own one and see how you feel about it. I think it's a cool car. I think they're horribly overpriced. I don't think they're great cars, really. You buy the G63 AMG and all that stuff. It's super expensive, and it goes fast in a straight line. But beyond that, like, why?
That's why I wouldn't buy a G63, because I'm not buying it for the point of speed. I've got the R8 for that.
You're not. If you want to go fast, why are you buying an SUV?
Exactly. And Urus is same kind of thing. Like, yeah, it goes
a little
fast.
bit different.
Yeah,
but
and it's more.
Or the Aston.
Those are sick.
The 707. So the DBX 707 is now more powerful than the Urus. And the Urus Performante is coming out as well. Still more powerful than that. So 700 horsepower basically on that DBX SUV. And
Those
if you
are
like
like
the look,
$300,000 though.
more well optioned.
Yeah.
But if you're like, oh, I want to go nuts, and I should say, if you're gonna go like sports car and SUV, the theoretical idea is you're combining two cars into one.
Yeah.
Like you don't need multiple cars, right? Yep. So like if I got rid of the Urus, if I got rid of my Ferrari and the Rolls, and I was gonna get one, I thought about getting an Urus, but I just couldn't go down to one. I went down from like 4 or 5 to 2. I think 2 is just right for me. But yeah, if you wanted to, you could do that.
Yeah, but I feel like I like the coupe, this supercar or whatever thing. I think I like that. And even Cullinans have gone down a lot. I've seen stuff for like 330 now. I
love Cullins.
I'm like, damn, these things go to 270.
They're still crazy expensive.
I wouldn't buy that. Nice what I would buy instead of a Cullinan is I would just buy like $100,000 decked out Sprinter and then have that for like filming.
Decked out Sprinter is more than $100,000 though.
No.
You mean a used one?
Yeah, used one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like DJ Skis sold for like $70,000, $78,000.
That's it?
Yeah, that one that we saw was $78,000.
No.
It was on eBay, yeah.
You should have told, I would have.
I knew it was, and I was going to buy it. I told you about it back then. I was going to buy it.
I don't remember that. I think you should, for $70,000, you should have bought it.
As I'm saying, that thing.
And it had the ambulance package and everything.
And that's what I'm saying, like that, but you have to get like a driver because like we'd want to be filming while like that. The ideal to get that to be like to film in the back while so we can multitask.
Yeah.
But then you have to pay a driver like $60,000 a year or something, whatever, or just whenever hourly, whoever you want to get to do it. So
but it's still only 100. It's $130,000.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not that much.
It's not 330. Yeah. So that's kind of that. You guys are seeing the process of how my mind works with this car stuff. Like I'm all over the place, but I kind of right now I'm like on the G-Wagon front. But if it doesn't work out with me, like getting a loan for it because there's tightening up on it, which I never have issues with it, so it's not a thing. That's never a thing. But the interest rates are just so high. Yeah. That's another aspect of it. Then I'm not going to force it because come January they're probably going to be 10, 15 grand less.
Yeah, do what makes you happy. As long as it doesn't affect like your livelihood and your lifestyle and
throw all my money away.
Yeah. But that's a judgment in my opinion. Like when people are like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Like, fuck you. Do whatever you want. As long as you're able to live where you and your family are comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. Those you have to provide for, then who cares?
Yep.
Like it doesn't matter. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think the one I saw is like $140,000 and it has massage seats, heated and cooled. But I don't know, Sophie likes that car, and she'd be fine keeping her Q5 too if I decide not to do it. So that's what's great. She just doesn't care, but she really likes the Range Rover. She's like, I can actually park it. It's nice. She likes the matte black, which I just got it rewrapped. I have to pick it up. Actually, he just texted me. I had to pick it up tomorrow or Tuesday. I think he just said he can't pick it up tomorrow. I rewrapped it a better satin rather than a matte black.
It was black and now it's black.
And it was the wrap was like bubbles everywhere and everything and getting whatever done to it. So that'll be like the long-term car that we'll keep. And I can see that happening because Sophie wants it.
Yeah. Right.
And I'll just buy what I want. Yeah. And I'll just buy whatever I want. Because like we kept her car for 3 years straight. No.
Right.
That was like the one car that we've kept throughout her lease. So yeah, that's where it is. And I think that's some pretty good catching up that we've done.
We did some catch up. I was getting people like saying like, hey, are you and Harrison not friends anymore? Like I haven't seen you in a video and stuff like that. And I was like, been busy.
Yeah. And I want to do another episode with Haas where we've got some like stories to tell. Like the time I met Travis Scott, you were back there, but you didn't like, I said, whatever. I want to talk about that.
There.
That's a clickbait kind of title, but talk about some of the stuff that we've done. We went to the Bahamas. That was a fun trip. All that stuff we get to talk about. So
we've made a lot of trips to LA.
If you want to see, LA, if you guys want to see all that stuff, let us know in the comments below. You see another episode with Haas. I'm sure you guys will. Make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you want to be up to date. We are now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Congrats.
Those are the two that we're doing. And if we want to expand, I don't know what the other one would to expand to. There's
Amazon and all this.
Yeah. I got to be enough people because we're getting like 3,000, 4,000 views on this now. So like once we grow more, we already had the first like couple hours, we had like 8 downloads and I got a 5-star review. So leave a 5-star review if you're watching on Spotify or Apple. I think it's Apple does that. So Spotify, you can leave a review too. So make sure you guys go ahead and do that. Thank you.
And also let us know if there's something you want us to talk about, something in general that would be of value to you, especially if
leave some
me
questions.
or Harry or whatever. because I get a lot of stuff through DMs that are like, hey, I want you to talk about this with Harrison. You know, so let us know.
Yeah, do it in the comments down below. And the next episode we'll do with Haas, and we'll do that soon because we're close now. Even though we're at my warehouse, which is in a different area, but we will do that. And
back in the hood now.
Yeah, I'm back in the neighborhood. So. Thank you guys for watching. Yeah. And hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And if you did, leave a like I said. And we will see you guys in the next one. See ya.
See ya.